Welcome to The Leverage Show. Get more from your business and your life. I want to share with you how to become a master in any field or industry. A question that I get asked a lot of times is, I want to do blank, but I'm not really sure if I have enough skill or if I have enough experience in that particular industry. I want to provide this to people, but I don't really know how to do it. Or I would ultimately like to become a coach or a teacher or a trainer doing this, but I'm not really sure how to go about doing that. So I want to share with you the method that I've used to become a master, and you can do this in just about any field. And so basically the idea is, in order to become really excellent at anything, you have to have a tremendous base of knowledge and experience. For me, when I was starting out in internet marketing, I didn't really know anything about it. I had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit, and I had a desire to achieve something, and I wanted to be able to work from home. So I had a very strong why, but I didn't really know how. I didn't know what I didn't even know. And so the steps that I took were to really become a student of whatever that craft or industry or field is, and become an avid student like you would if it was a subject that you loved, because hopefully you do. If it's not a subject you love, I don't recommend you go into it, because ultimately what you're going to find is you're going to struggle. You're going to be competing against people who do love it, people who are jumping out of bed in the morning, excited to go to work to do what it is that they're working on. If it's drudgery for you, if it's work in order to learn about what you need to do, it isn't the right field for you. So don't chase the money, focus on something you're really passionate about, and become an avid student. It sort of seems paradoxical because people say, well, I want to be a coach. I want to be a life coach. Okay, well, how much do you know about life coaching? How many other people have you coached? How is your own life going? You need to be able to go out there and be able to walk the walk. And so if you don't have specific expertise, if you don't have a background in what you're trying to go into, that's fine. One of the most amazing things about the time in history that we live in right now is that there are no rules and there are no limits, because everything is out there for you, but you need to be willing to work for it to get it. So the idea is, if you want to become a master at something, find out who are all the key players in that industry or field right now. Who are the best of the best? Who are the people that everybody looks up to and says, wow, he really knows what he's doing, or she is really a master and an expert at that. Whoever is doing what you want to do, read about them, learn about their story, find out what their path was like, learn what they stand for, analyze and see how they do what they do, break it down, really absorb it and look into it. Read biographies of people in your industry or in your field. Gather as much data and information from people that could serve as your mentors. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, famous. You probably know who he is. If you haven't, certainly look up that book, Think and Grow Rich, and read it. It's an excellent read. But one of the techniques that he used was he had a round table of advisors and mentors. Now, they were all dead. So they weren't people that were literally sitting there with him, but he would have pretend conversations, and he would say, if I had all these people seated in a room and I said, this is what I want to accomplish, or this is what I need to do, or this is the challenge I'm faced with, based on what I know about them, what advice would they give me? And he had read their biographies and he knew everything about them. So he had a sense of their personality, and he literally would carry on these conversations between these, now fictitious people because they were all past. And he would create great advice for himself by doing this. So you don't have to do it that specifically, but the point is Study the people that are already operating at a really high level at what you want to do. Study the craft itself. Look into what are all the different aspects of it. Really dive into it. What are the different schools of thought? You know, if you want to go into whatever it is, if you want to go into, biokinesiology, then you want to take a look at, what do the experts believe? Are there different schools of thought? Some people believe this and some people believe that. You don't have to pick a side of who's right and who's wrong, but you need to get really in depth with understanding what the argument is on both sides of the aisle. So that way you can speak intelligently about it. The bigger and more avid a student that you become of whatever thing that you want to be a master at, the faster you become a master at it. And, ironically, it isn't necessarily based on practice. You don't have to be a practitioner specifically of what you're doing, depending on the field. I don't really think it's genuine to teach people how to make money online if you've never made a cent online. However, if, you're into some other types of fields where, whether it's, positive thinking or whether it's, productivity or whatever, you don't need to have a lifelong experience in these things. But if you've discovered some secrets, if you've discovered some breakthroughs, if you've discovered some epiphanies based on learning from other people, then that is something that you can use to draw upon for your experience. So what do I mean specifically? I mean, look up all the best-selling books or highest-rated books in that particular field and read them all. You don't have to read them all today, but get one after another and read it at any downtime you've got. Instead of going on your cell phone and checking your texts and your scores, read a chapter of the book. You'll start to read through these books and you'll develop this as a habit. Find the YouTube TV shows or the podcasts that are the most popular in your niche and subscribe to them. Absorb all that information. Take it in. Listen and read and follow the mentors and experts on social media. Go to any events or any types of, physical gatherings of people that are in that industry. If you have an opportunity to go and hear these people speak in person, that's a great way to do it as well. And then here's how you take all of that and you actually translate it into your own personal mastery of it. Keep a notebook and jot down notes of things that are specific points of interest or takeaways or golden nuggets that you've been able to gather from what other people have said. See, the key to mastery is two different pieces. The first piece is becoming extremely knowledgeable in whatever craft that you're into, whatever field, whatever industry. And once you have that knowledge, then it's sort of making your own group of takeaways, your own group of golden nuggets, your own group of rules, or a lens that you see it through, where you've taken all this other information and you've culled it down into what you believe the core aspects of it are. So you have your own spin, you have your own take, you have your own flavor of the same kind of thing. Look, if you look at people like Tony Robbins, if you look at self-help and professional and personal development, gurus and masters, right? Whether it's Jack Canfield or whether it's Earl Nightingale or whether it's Tony Robbins or anybody else that you can name, they weren't the first to do it. Most of their information, interestingly, is, not to be disrespectful, but somewhat regurgitated. It's stuff that they learned, right? At least in the beginning. But then they had their own spin, their own take, their own way to connect that with people in order to make that work. So they became positioned as an expert in this field, but they learned it from somebody else. It's great if you can get a live, living, breathing mentor who's going to show you the ropes. I can't tell you the number of times and how successful that is. You know, I'm a big fan of the show Top Chef. And what I've noticed is in the first few seasons, it was a lot of sort of amateur chefs. And very few of them had much of a pedigree. They sort of had just had some success doing what they were doing. If you notice in the progression of the seasons, now all the chefs on there have worked for Jean-Georges, have worked for Emeril Lagasse, they've all worked for master chefs. So they've become experts in their own right. That's the best if you have an opportunity to do that. I haven't, unfortunately. And you may not have that opportunity either. So you can go that route. Or if you don't have that accessible to you, or you don't want to write a $5,000 check for personal coaching with somebody like that, there is a way around it. But that is through hard work and really living, breathing, eating, sleeping that field, that industry, that walk of life, until you become so knowledgeable about it that you already understand where the whole industry is and where all these different people fall on the spectrum. And then you don't just take exactly what they've said and give it back to people. You create your own takeaways, your own spin. You look at the whole universe of the stuff that you've created in your notes and everything else, and you write down anything that's a distinction, anything that is a tweak on what it is. You know, another great example of this is weight loss. Weight loss has been around since the beginning of time. But there are new weight loss programs all the time. Why? Do they have the secret of weight loss? Of course not. They have a different spin on the same exact thing. But they obviously have science behind them. They have, you know, nutrition behind them. In order to create something like that, you've got to get the background knowledge to really understand it. And once you've done that and you become an expert in whatever you're doing, you can speak intelligently about it. You can become a master yourself, and then that whole industry opens up to you. You can do coaching in that industry, speaking in that industry, create products for that industry. You know, you can become an authority in any industry that you want by doing it that way, and you can create an entire career out of that. So again, the focus is make sure that you choose something that you're passionate about, because that is going to be the most important thing. That's going to fuel you and make you want to learn it just for the sake of learning it. And then it'll be so much more rewarding when you get an opportunity to share that with other people and help them make breakthroughs and learn and grow from your experience and your ability to help them do it. So remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have a question, post it at leverageshow.com and I'll answer it for you on a future episode. Until next time, make it happen.